Process of proving that. Dez Bryant, we've seen him featured in the passing game, a big play receiver, and in the run game, it's been Kendall Hunter. Look at those numbers, outstanding. How do you replace that? By a new cast of characters, and Anium is that guy featured in the pass game, a breakout game a week ago, and then Toston, the veteran at that running back position, is now the featured back. He's carried the rock a year ago. New faces, Ron, but the result is very similar to what they've been doing.
Well, let's get the very latest on Bryant and Hunter. Here's Lewis Johnson. Lewis.
All right, Ron, thanks so much. I know we'll have more time as the game develops to talk about this Dez Bryant situation, but here are the basic facts as we know them to the moment. Bryant's suspension continues. He's been able to practice at home with the team, but he's not able to travel, so he's not here and not will be able to play for the Cowboys today. Now, yesterday we spent some time talking to Mike Gundy, their head coach, and he said they have applied for the reinstatement of Bryant. They've given him 100% of their support, but so far there's been no response from the NCAA, and no timetable has been given to them as to when or what kind of decision will be made on his behalf. Now, the running back Kendall Hunter that you mentioned a moment ago suffered that right sprained ankle in the second game of the season versus Houston. He's already missed 4.5 games. He's been cleared medically to play. He's practiced the last 2 weeks, and once again, coach told us yesterday that he's looking good, but really they're leaving the decision up to Hunter. Now, during pregame warm-ups, I saw Hunter warming up. He looked to be okay. Not quite sure what's going to happen, so really the ball is in his court as to whether Hunter will be on the field today for the Cowboys at running back. Ron?
All right, Lewis will stay on that all afternoon. Now for Baylor, head coach Art Briles said, I've never seen anything like this as far as injuries in the last 30 years. The biggest is freshman All-American quarterback Robert Griffin. And with that lack of offense because Griffin's absence, the onus is turned on the defense.
Well, the running game, too. Throw Finley into there. He's been out as well. But you're right. If the offense isn't going to get it done, Baylor's defense has to hold the fort. When you talk about Baylor's defense, you have to start in the middle with Joe Pavelkic, a very good middle linebacker, a tackling machine. And you can see right there the numbers. He's a great guy to count on. But, Ron, somewhere Baylor's going to have to score some points today.
Now we see Joe Pavelek out of Smithson Valley High School. Let's take a look at our Craftsman's tools for success.
Well,
Kelly.
Starting with Oklahoma State, they want to stone the run, wipe it off, and then attack the quarterback when they choose to attack. And then after that, you have to avoid this being a trap game. Remember who lays down the road is Texas. They want to avoid looking forward to that. And Baylor, the fast start to build confidence. You have to have a reason to hope you can win this football game. And then secondly, for Baylor, they're going to have to get off to a good rhythm offensively. Very important. They have to find a way, Ron, to get something done early in this game.
And the head coach of Oklahoma State in his 5th year is Mike Gundy. He was a 4-year starter at quarterback for Oklahoma State, held most of the records till some guy named Zac Robinson came along. He's taken a no-nonsense approach to building this team. He's built it the right way ever since year 1 when he took over for Les Miles, and he's done an outstanding job. He was actually an assistant here at Baylor back in '96. And Art Briles in his 2nd year graduated from Texas Tech, grew up in rural Texas, coached 3 years at Texas Tech at running back, and then he turned that Baylor program around. He's trying to do the same here at Baylor. Oklahoma State won the toss. They have deferred. So we will find out very early. The biggest question around Waco, Texas the last couple of days, who is going to start at quarterback for Baylor? This line drive kick will be out of the end zone. The question, who will play quarterback? And the answer is, we believe, Tyler Florence. Tyler Florence, the freshman, or Nick Florence, the freshman out of Garland, Texas, South Garland. Passed for over 8,000 yards his freshman year. The fact that nobody knew, Kelly, up until just a few minutes ago, that he was going to start at quarterback, how does that affect this offense as far as just momentum?
I don't really think it affects the offense that much. I think it might affect the individual quarterback. As a quarterback, I certainly wanted to know, is this my show from snap 1? And supposedly these young men didn't know until this morning. We'll see if Nick Florence can get off to a good start here this afternoon.
6'1", 195 pounds, and Florence, he is known as a good runner, and he gets over the 25-yard line. That'll be a pickup of 5. Let's take a look at the Baylor offense on the line. J.D. Walton is at center. He is considered the bell cow for this line. In the skill position, a lot of question marks.
Ernest Smith is having a good year, moved from outside to inside. And then David Geddes, the track guy, is becoming a pretty good receiver here this year.
Baylor only 7 points combined in the first quarter over the last 3 games. That is a key in this game for the Bears, is to start quickly. The run game, nothing doing. Jay Finley is getting the start, and that is kind of a surprise also for Baylor. Let's take a look at the Oklahoma State defense. It's a simplified defense. Guys are playing much faster. Derek Burton has moved inside from defensive end, playing at a high level. Linebackers are solid, Kelly.
Well, Donald Booker is in. Ori Lemon, their best linebacker, best defensive player, got hurt in camp. He can't play. Booker takes on an added role.
And on 3rd down and short, that secondary of Oklahoma State, which is solid, comes up for some run support. Ganaway was on the carry. And that'll be about 2 yards short, and Baylor's going to have to kick it away on their first possession. That is not a good sign for the Bears.
You're right, Ron, and that isn't that early rhythm that Art Briles was talking about. To come out and get an early 3 and out is certainly not the way he wanted to start this football game.
Well, it's the best punting team in the Big 12, but Derek Epperson versus the best return team, Parrish Cox of Oklahoma State, and the wind catches this. This will be a real short kick. Cox will still pick it up, and he is hit immediately at the 43-yard line. Only 33 yards on the kick.
Well, we know who's playing quarterback for Baylor.
Yeah.
That question was answered.
And we know who's playing quarterback for Oklahoma State. They're becoming more complete, courtesy of Zac Robinson kicking it in the last couple of weeks. Last 2 games playing with a lot of confidence. He holds numerous Oklahoma State records.
Well, with all the uncertainty because of Dez Bryant and Kendall Hunter not being on the field, the constant has been Zac Robinson.
And ever since the second half of that A&M game, he has played very well. Here's Bo Johnson getting his first carry, the senior out of Lawrenceville, Georgia. Offensive line for Oklahoma State, 4 of the 5 are seniors. Russell Okong, he could play on Sundays. He is a big one.
We talked about Tostin. Keep an eye on him because Oklahoma State really sets the table of their offense through the running game. So Tostin is going to carry the load here this afternoon.
And Robinson will go from the shotgun, the senior out of Littleton, Colorado. Looking to get the run game going, maybe picking up 2. Baylor defense, 15 sacks last year, already 10 this year. The line's playing a lot better because of the injury to Phil Taylor, turf toe. Lamb moves inside, Scott moves to defensive end, and the linebackers.
The linebackers really are the tacklers for this defense. Baylor's defense, they funnel everything to that second level.
And Jordan Lake is the safety. He's a human missile. He is a headache inducer. All Big 12 performer. Keep an eye on 21 for Baylor. 2nd down and 9, balls on the 47. First possession of the game for the Cowboys. Toasted over the 40, breaks through. Inside the 30, down to the 25-yard line. They'll mark it down at the 23. Williams and Lake combined for the tackle.
Ron, we can already see that Oklahoma State comes out and they really try to set the tone physically up front in a running game, even though they're a spread offense. Tostin is known more of a thumper, kind of get downhill in a hurry, but he can also get to the edge. Do not be surprised by that.
24 yards on the pickup. You know, everybody said, oh, Kendall Hunter's out. Hey, Tostin's a 2,500-yard runner himself over his career. And he remains in the backfield with Robinson. He's got it again. Another big hole over the right side, inside the 10, down to the 6-yard line. Just assaulting that defensive line of Baylor, a pickup of 16 on the play.
And up front is a massive, very experienced offensive line. So you can talk all you want about the uncertainty in the skill level for Oklahoma State, Ron, but when you have a veteran group up front that can get it done, that's a very big security blanket for Mike Gundy.
Number 2 rushing team in the Big 12. Anium, outstanding receiver, is now on the right side, short side of the field. Tostin again. He will continue to follow the blocks of Lane Taylor and Brady Bond on that right side. Able to pick up a couple. It'll be 2nd and goal.
And it was Zach Sakatin chasing the running back Tostin down that time. And the way Baylor wants to play defensively, if they want to get hard on the edges and kind of spill everything to the outside, and then you have that linebacking core that tries to jump up and make plays from that level.
2nd down and goal from the 6. Oklahoma State 88% in the red zone this year. Bo Johnson now in the backfield, the senior out of Lawrenceville, Georgia, wearing jersey 2. The fake. Robinson keeps it. Not much daylight. Baylor, nice job stringing it out. Antonio Johnson came up with the first hit. Tim Atchison cleaned things up.
Remember, Zac Robinson is one of those true dual threat quarterbacks, and you can see it right there. He makes a lot of things happen with his feet. Baylor's going to have to rally to the football when they have to go out of run defense and rally into coverage is where the trouble's going to come when you have a quarterback that can get outside the pocket.
Loss of 1 on the play, 3rd down and 7. No passes in the game so far. 9 to snap it for Robinson. He looks over to the sideline with 3 to snap. 1 to snap, just gets it off. Robinson looking in the middle, throwing, pass tip. That'll be incomplete. Nice defensive stand by Baylor. Jordan Lake, we talked about him in the lineups. The senior out of Houston, Texas. All Big 12, preseason All Big 12 again this year. He's the one who got the hand on it.
Well, if you're Baylor and defensive coordinator Brian Norwood, you obviously aren't happy with the way Oklahoma State was able to just march down the field running the football, but I think they got a little bit of the break. When they got deep in the red zone, Oklahoma State started to throw the football, and it didn't go well for them.
24-yarder by Dan Bailey, coming off a 4-for-4 performance last week, and it is good. Mike Gundy's squad scores first. 9:43 left in the opening quarter. Baylor Bears try to snap a 2-game losing streak. Oklahoma State looking for victory number 5 in a row. They are one of 2 undefeated teams in the Big 12, and they lead it early on 3-0. But once again, field goals as opposed to touchdowns. Does Baylor have the talent to capitalize on that stand?
That certainly is the big question. Oklahoma State really hasn't been doing a good job recently of finishing with touchdowns in the red zone, but that's the question. Is Baylor good enough offensively to walk through that door that may be open?
When Sharp's kick is at the goal line. Terrence Williams breaks through over the 40 to the 45-yard line. 43 yards officially on the return by Terrence Williams, the redshirt freshman out of Dallas. Well, we know college football, but we don't know if Utah can keep the Cadets from their push-ups, or if BYU's mission will be plagued by the Frogs, or if this year the Bears finally top the Huskers, and neither do you. Air Force at Utah is coming up next, followed by TCU at Baylor. That'll be 7:30 Eastern. Then next Saturday is Nebraska at Baylor beginning at noon Eastern. College football on Versus, a huge day today of college football. So Baylor has good field position. They take over. Ball is on the 44-yard line. Their second possession of the ball game. Nick Florence getting the call. Penalty flag is thrown as it is intercepted. Patrick Levine on the interception, and he is going to be down at the 47-yard line. That would be his 3rd interception if it stands. That play was really made by Derek Burton, the defensive tackle, who put pressure on Florence. Well, it is. So Levine's 3rd interception of the year. And that is the 8th for this Cowboy defense. And again, interceptions plaguing Baylor.
One of the things that Nick Florence has been doing a good job of is protecting the football when he's been out there. But the quick pressure, the offensive lineman misses the cut. Florence really is baited into throwing something blind across the middle before he really discerns what the look is. And then he gets thrown to the ground right there on top of it. Swanson Miller with that quick pressure. Florence making a bad decision. Art Briles talking to him about it right there, and you can't make decisions like that so quickly early in a game. If you don't see it clearly, Ron, you have to hold the football, just take the sack, because remember, Baylor has to get into a good rhythm, get something done. They obviously aren't doing it right now.
Well, I think this play may be under review either for the play or the time, as Art Briles looks on to his team and he knows the margin of error is slim. And Mike Gundy, the head coach of Oklahoma State, who I've known Mike since he played high school football at Midwest City, but just watching what he has gone through this year, Kelly, I would think it's safe to say Mike Gundy is doing his finest coaching job of his career, period.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. When you lose so... Yeah, I think we knew that. The pass was intercepted in first down Oklahoma State. But I think Mike Gundy, you lose so much offensive firepower, and they can put new faces in there, and the productivity actually increases. That has a lot to do with the veteran coach, who also is a play caller, but also a veteran offensive line and a veteran quarterback.
Now Keith Tostin is now lined up behind Zac Robinson, who will go under center, leading 3-0. Opening quarter here in Waco. The fake to Tostin. Robinson looks, throws back right. Pass is complete. It is to Tostin. And that is a new wrinkle in this Oklahoma State offense, Kelly. We've seen this year guys like Tostin, Johnson, even Kendall Hunter. All the running backs are catching more passes this year, and that's something they've actually concentrated on since spring.
Yeah, I think offensively, Mike Gundy was looking at ways to expand what they do, and I think throwing to the running backs, including them in the pass game, is one of those ways.
And they brought in Robert Gillespie as the running back coach.
On the offense, number 77, 5-yard penalty, second down.
That's Noah Franklin. But they brought in Robert Gillespie from South Carolina because he had some experience in that. And Mike Gundy is you know, I mean, he's pulling out all the stops on this.
Yeah, you're constantly trying to tweak things to become more efficient. And Mike Gundy knows to stay ahead of the game, you have to continue to improve. Oklahoma State, they will do multiple tempos. They will go slow, they will go fast, they will show fast but not snap the football. You can see that they try to keep the defense on their heels that way.
And the pitch back to Tostin, able to get into Baylor territory, crossing the 50 down to the 46-yard line. Joe Pavelic, number 41, on the tackle. Pavelic out of Smithson Valley High School just outside of San Antonio is truly one of the best linebackers, not only this year but in the history of the Big 12. He is a tackling machine.
Ron, Oklahoma State is truly a joy to watch offensively. They have so many weapons. They're in and out of personnel packages. They really kind of regulate the tempo of the game by how quickly they want to call a play at the line of scrimmage.
Tostin and Ward now in the I formation. Third down and short. It's 3. Quick drop, quick pass is caught. Anium on the reception, his first of the ball game, and he is ushered out of bounds at about the 38-yard line. That'll be a pickup of 8 and another first down. The true freshman Chance Casey on the coverage.
Another good example offensively. Oklahoma State goes to their true two-back personnel, but they throw the football out of it on 3rd and short. That's another way that you keep the defense guessing. You know, the personnel would kind of speak to a run in that situation, but they come out throwing the football.
Well, we just saw how they showed fast, but they're not really going fast. Here's Tostin. Again, a big hole over the left side, gets down to about the 29-yard line. Casey coming up from that cornerback spot to make the tackle. You know, this is a memorable place for Keith Tostin. 2007, he had a season-ending injury here at Baylor. I think he kind of remembers that day 2 years ago. Picked up 8 on that play.
You know, at Baylor defensively, they like to keep a safety deep, but they play a lot of 8-man in the box, and they try to spill everything to the outside and then converge on that from the second level.
Again, Robinson perfect on the pass to Anium. Slips the defender, and he's able to scamper down to the 22-yard line. The secondary making a lot of tackles this afternoon already for Baylor.
Hutchinson is the defender out there on that quick screen to Anium, and this is what Oklahoma State likes to do. Throw it short, count on yards after the catch, and the defense has to come up and make sure tackles. And Hutchinson didn't do it on that play right there.
Robinson 3 of 4 throwing the football. We're seeing how efficient he is, and that really started again the second half of that A&M game. Going down the middle, has a man. Is that going to be caught? Touchdown, Oklahoma State. Wilson Yeoman with his first touchdown reception of the year, the sophomore out of St. Martinville, Louisiana. And Robinson tosses number 10 on the season.
Yeoman doing a nice job out of that tight end position, just kind of working up the inside of the hash in that 3-deep coverage by Baylor. And what a nice throw by Zac Robinson.
The extra point is good. Bailey stays perfect for his career.
We talked about the multiple ways that Oklahoma State can pressure you. Here's the tight end jumping up, catching the football. Oklahoma State off to a great start.
Oklahoma State has won 12 of the last 13 meetings between these two teams. The last time they lost was Baylor was back in 2005. And you can see it didn't take them long to go 53 yards after the interception, just over 3 minutes, and that's why they lead 10-0. Along with Kelly Stauffer, Lewis Johnson, I'm Ron Thulin. Welcome you to Waco, Texas. A beautiful day for football. Temperatures probably now have finally reached the mid to high 50s. It is homecoming weekend here at Baylor, and so far they haven't had a whole lot to cheer about. And the side winding kick. This will be about 8 yards deep. And Baylor will have to take over again, 1st and 10 from their own 20-yard line. Along with Kelly Stauffer, I'm Ron Thulin. The first thing I think we've seen today that has stood out is Zac Robinson's patience, his tempo, and the fact that he's gotten in rhythm very early here.
You're right. And remember, he was hurt early in camp, and then he has a lot of new faces to have to get the football to. I think you saw signs the last couple of weeks of Robinson is really hitting his stride. And so conversely, Baylor needs to get something done right now offensively, or they're going to be way behind the 8 ball before this thing is very old.
Well, he started the season with a hamstring problem. That slowed him. Then a man that was very close to him, his grandfather, had passed away. And he even had maybe a little shoulder tightness, but he is back in rhythm. Now let's see if Baylor can answer. Florence got the starting call. The freshman at quarterback. He's already thrown a pick today for those of you just joining us.
Well, Ron, I think for Baylor, their hope offensively is that Jay Finley, who was in on that play carrying the football, is kind of his old self again, and they can get some semblance of the running game going. Art Briles likes to start with the running game.
Lawrence's quick pass is complete to Kendall Wright. He was a star last year, the sophomore out of Pittsburgh, Texas. Let's check in on the sideline with Lewis Johnson. Lewis.
Hey, Ron, I was chasing Art Briles off the field right after warm-ups to try and find out if he had made that decision on the starting quarterback, so I'm asking Florence, and he said, Lewis, he says, when I say game-time decision, I mean game-time decision. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, you know, do they know it? We just don't know. And the question is, he says he just has confidence in both quarterbacks. But look, you've got a freshman who came out here already, and if he just found out he threw a pick, now trying to get things righted here in this next possession.
Well, the quarterbacks were very cryptic with us over the last couple of days. Here's Florence's pass. That'll be complete. Justin Akers over the 30 to the 32-yard line. That'll be good for a first down. That'll be Baylor's first down of the ball game.
Well, it starts moving the football with 1 first down, and Florence doing a nice job in the pressure regulation right there. Actually, Justin Akers, that tight end, doing a nice job of just coming underneath that pressure. And you can see Baylor hurrying up, and they want to increase tempo as well. You have to find some way offensively, not only getting into rhythm early, but also trying to move the football any way they can.
You saw Florence run up behind center J.D. Walton. Now he backs off. They have tweaked the offense once Robert Griffin went down with an injury. Art Briles telling us Thursday that they've had to cut about 20 to 25% of the plays out of the offense because Griffin just made so many things happen just because of his skill set. Here's Finley. Hasn't played in 3 of the last 4 games. He is going to be pushed back. He hurt his ankle, and everybody thought he was all set to play against the Iowa State game. Then Finley pulled a quad muscle. Well, wasn't able to play in that game.
That stat right there in the rushing yards, Oklahoma State has been able to run the football. Baylor isn't. And early in games, you want to see what's happening on the line of scrimmage. And right now, on both sides of the line of scrimmage, Oklahoma State certainly has the upper hand.
Only 95 yards rushing combined over the last 2 games for this Baylor defense as Finley goes out. They empty the backfield. 3 wide receivers to the right, 2 to the left. Oklahoma State showing a 3-man rush. They rush 4. Lawrence's quick pass. That'll be good for a first down. Up to the 43-yard line to Ernest Smith, the senior out of New Orleans, Louisiana. That's a player that the coaches could not say enough about how he has stepped up this year.
Well, Ernest Smith was an outside receiver in this Art Briles' offense a year ago. Moves to the inside, more of a control type of guy. Has to run good routes, fill the voids in that zone, and that's exactly what he did on that play. And look how little Florence actually holds the football. It's a direct snap, hardly moves his feet. Basically set your feet, but get rid of the football and don't let that Oklahoma State pressure get to you.
This is his third start, threw for 220 yards versus Oklahoma a couple of weeks ago. Here comes a little blitz. Flores gets it out. That'll be Geddes. That's going to call it incomplete, and a penalty flags are thrown. And we're going to see what happened because the pass was incomplete. Art Browse wants to find out what's going on.
I think initially they're going to call Kendall Wright for blocking when that ball was in the air, but it's behind the line of scrimmage. Receivers
Personal
can do
foul.
that.
Legal crackback block on the offense, number 1. 15-yard penalty. First down.
Well, it is on Wright. You were right there.
Certainly an incomplete pass on the, it's really a bounce pass to Geddes. That's no question. But Wright, you can see one there. He was the guy who had kind of the kick out block, but they called him for the illegal block on that play. I couldn't exactly see why that would be illegal. Illegal cutback block.
Kelly, you and I know this has been a problem for Baylor. Last 3 games they're averaging 10 penalties a game. Flores zips the pass to Wright. Caught and he's hit, goes down, ball's on the ground. And now the one official's running in, the linesman saying it's an incomplete pass. Well, let's look at it again. One official came from the near side of the field and started calling the play.
Well, Florence faking the quick screen that time and then comes to Wright underneath all of that, and I don't know. It's about almost 2 full steps with the possession of that football before it comes out.
Well, J.D. Walton fell on the ball, but they're calling it incomplete. That may be reviewed. I think the guys in the booth may have seen what we just saw.
The Baylor certainly had possession of it because they recovered the fumble. But
well, let's take one more look. And once again, catching a football is a process of catching it, bringing it in.
He certainly has possession right there. There isn't any question that he has possession. Takes one step, starting to take his next full step when that ball comes out.
What do you think, partner?
I think Baylor gets on it. I don't know if they're going to have enough to overturn that, but I guarantee you this: the way Baylor is playing offensively, without Griffin and Finley being active most of this season, they need every yard they can get, so they certainly want this to go their favor.
And one more look. 32 yards only so far here in the opening quarter for Baylor. And it looks like he's got it.
I just think he's starting to run with that football. Demonstrates full possession.
Here it goes.
After further review, rolling on the field is confirmed. Incomplete pass. Second down.
Okay.
You know, we aren't right with that much this year. You know what I mean?
We are really bad.
Yeah.
We started out slow. We've tapered off on our guesses on that.
But if catching the football, as you talked about, is a process, and you're on the verge of taking your second step, at what point in time is that process now moved from catching the football to running with the football?
And now Oklahoma State, 3 defensive linemen with their hands on the ground, 1 standing up. Florence looking left, and the C's part right down the middle. But not quick enough for those defenders of Oklahoma State, who just corral him at the 34-yard line. Donald Booker and Andre Sexton, 2 talented linebackers coming up to make the stop. We talk about Booker, number 44. We see him there. He is by far the fastest linebacker and has done a great job for Ori Lemon, who was injured in August.
Yeah, and Booker has had to take on the mental load because that middle linebacker has to call all of the defensive plays, and Booker's doing a nice job mentally.
And again, Oklahoma State with a 3-man front, and again, Florence going away. Penalty flag is thrown, and that pass is incomplete. He was close to going over the line, and we even have a Baylor player losing the helmet, and that thing is tossed back to the 20-yard line. Talk about losing your head, old J.D.
There are
Walton.
2 fouls, both against the offense. Holding on the offense, number 55. Penalties decline. Legal forward pass on the offense, number 11. Fouls accepted from the spot of the foul. Loss of down. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
I thought he was over the line.
Yeah, and that's the one that really hurts. That illegal forward pass comes with a loss of down and the 5 yards. So now Baylor has to punt the football to Oklahoma State once again, and Zac Robinson on the sideline can't wait to get his hands on the football.
Well, that's the 2nd penalty on Baylor already this afternoon.
Well, Ron, it's Baylor. You look at them offensively. Art Briles is just struggling to find something that works, and right now he just doesn't have an answer.
Well, one of the bright spots for Baylor this year is the punter, Derek Epperson, number 2 in the NCAA to Drew Butler of Georgia. He's tops in the Big 12. The junior out of Southlake, Texas, Keller High School. Rushes on, and this is a better punt than the first one. Punting into a stiff wind. Takes a pretty good bounce. And they'll down it at about the 27-yard line. Punt covers 42 yards. We're in Waco, where the Cowboys lead the Bears. Waco home to a number of museums, and one of the best is the Texas Ranger Museum. A great history, still in operation now. They're very prevalent around the state of Texas, and I think you've got to be able to have starched jeans and a cowboy hat to be a member of the Texas Rangers. I think
that's required. There's no question. I think you don't get a badge until you have those things in place.
There was a 5-yard illegal formation penalty against Baylor on that punt, so that gives Oklahoma State 5 more yards. 3rd penalty for the Bears. And the Cowboys take over on the 32. Robinson on the run. Pass is complete up to the 39-yard line. That goes to DeMarcus Conner, the senior out of Spring, Texas. Only his 2nd catch of the afternoon or the year. And he was recruited by Art Briles when Briles was head coach at Houston.
You can see how this Oklahoma State offense really has expanded. Without Dez Bryant, the passing game doesn't have to go through one player. It's going through multiple players right now.
And we saw a great play right there. Zac Robinson with a hard count. Right side of the Baylor line. Jumped and then he backed off. Keeps him off balance.
That would be their show fast tempo. You show fast, but you don't snap it fast.
Here's Bo Johnson. Nice little cutback. Hops over the 40. To about the 42-yard line. That'll be close to a first down. Joe Pavelic with his 2nd tackle of the afternoon.
Ron, with Kendall Hunter out of this lineup, really what you get out of Tostin is more of kind of a pounder. He can get to the edge, but he doesn't get to the edge as quickly as Kendall Hunter does. But Bo Johnson actually has a little bit more speed to the edges.
First down. You can just see this offense of Oklahoma State starting to hit their stride. Even the first drive last week versus Missouri, when Zac Robinson was 5 of 6, had a touchdown pass on it. It was a first down. Final 40 seconds of the opening quarter. Bo Johnson again picking up another nice chunky yards on first down. Dez Bryant with his first stop of the afternoon.
Kendall Hunter, number 24, back in there, and we talked about it, Ron. He's one of those guys that I think has to feel like he's totally healthy before he can get out there. And right now, he just apparently doesn't feel he's that guy. But I would have to think with Texas looming next week that maybe that will change.
After the pickup of 5, 2nd down and 5. Pump fake by Robinson, looking for the deep route. Being chased from behind, and he throws it to the official in the shin. And the official, bad hands, incomplete, should have caught it.
Yeah, if you want the official to catch it, you got to really hit him right in the hands. And
knock his hair off.
Zac Robinson doing a nice job getting outside of the pocket, and as a heady, experienced quarterback, throw that ball away.
Zach Scotton was putting on the pressure from that defensive end spot, and that's going to end the first quarter, I think. The clock shows 0-0-0. And we will take a break. 15 minutes in the books, and Oklahoma State leading Baylor on homecoming weekend, 10-0. With a touchdown pass in 3 games versus Baylor in his career. He's got 4 TDs, no interceptions, and has completed 72% of his passes. Now he faces 3rd and 5. Oklahoma State with 124 yards total offense. Here's Robinson's passes complete. A big time hit, but not before they get the first down. Anium holds on. And that is his 3rd reception of the ball game.
Anium holds on, and you can see right there Jordan Lake lays the hit on Anium in that time. And Lake is a hitter, but sometimes you heard hurt yourself, and is actually that, I think, that second player coming in for Baylor, and Lake certainly is hurting currently.
That would be a major loss for this defense. He was holding that left wrist. Robinson swings it out far to the left, another completion, and then some. Down to the 30-yard line, it's Anium again. Anium having an outstanding game, coming off a 10-reception, 119-yard and a touchdown performance against Missouri, and he really started to stand out during the spring.
Well, Ron, that's, I think, what's happening right now is Anium is truly becoming that, that player in that Dez Bryant position. It has been more of a collective effort, but Anium seems to be that guy who's becoming the featured receiver in this Oklahoma State offense.
Minute gone by here in the second. Toasted, not much running room, and he is pushed back. We see a shoe on the field. One of the linemen blew a tire.
Ron, as Oklahoma State again is driving this football, I think the question going forward with them is the red zone. I think that's where Dez Bryant really showed up. Your featured big play receiver. Zac Robinson always had a place to go in the red zone, and Bryant is that guy that can go up and get the football. Not only a good route runner, but he can go finish the play as well.
Oklahoma State very methodical this afternoon, rushing the football and throwing the football. Toston and Johnson in the backfield. Robinson looks to set up the screen, and he does to Johnson. And he gets down to about the 26-yard line before Clifton Odom comes up to make the stop. Brian Landor helping him out.
And Odom did a nice job. He was a corner out in the flat, and he actually had to work his way around a big offensive lineman and still was able to get up there and make a nice play.
Mike Hicks, the true freshman, has replaced Jordan Lake at that safety spot. That's a tough position to be in against this outstanding Oklahoma State defense.
Because Mike Hicks was really the nickel back, and so there's a chain of command back there right now, and their nickel defense takes a hit as well.
From the 26-yard line, facing 3rd and 6, Zac Robinson will call a timeout. And we will step aside also. The Cowboys threatening again here in the second. All right, thank you very much, Al. And of course, Al will be back at halftime to keep us posted on all the scores in Nebraska and Baylor next week right here on Versus. Our coverage begins at noon Eastern time. Jordan Lake is back in the ball game now for the Baylor Bears at safety. Oklahoma State facing 3rd and 6. Baylor in their nickel defense. Robinson looks at Toston, then he's going to tuck it. A little pump fake, and he will be dropped back at the 29-yard line. That'll be a loss of about 3 on the play, and Oklahoma State will be facing 4th down.
Well, that nickel defense, a bear defense is what Baylor likes to call it. 3-man line up front, and they actually have 6 defensive backs, and number 14, Brian Landor, is one of them. Does a nice job. Byron Landor does a nice job of coming up. That's where Zac Robinson really pressures defense. Not a design run, but breaks defenses down like that. Baylor does a nice job of getting up and getting them on the ground.
That's the first sack of the ballgame, and only the 3rd given up by Oklahoma State this year. Best in the NCAA. 4th down and 9, and we've got a whistle. And Oklahoma State called a timeout. Coach Gundy on the far sideline.
Delay a game timeout. Oklahoma
That'll
State.
be their second timeout.
charge,
They have 1 remaining. 11:41 left to play before halftime. Good game so far for Zac Robinson and company. Oklahoma State has doubled Baylor in time of possession, but the important number, they lead 10-0. Time now for the Sports Authority dedicated to the dedicated player profile is Joe Pavelec. Almost 370 tackles coming into the game, and he is outstanding. And now his defense facing 4th down and 9, trying to hold Oklahoma State. Four-man rush. Robinson plenty of time. Pass is incomplete at the 18-yard line. Nice job converging on the intended receiver. Tim Atchison, the junior out of Copper's Cove, who's playing with a broken hand, is the one who popped Anium.
And Anium, that 3-by-1 formation, and he's the one down at the bottom of the screen isolated on Atchison, who does a nice job of breaking on the football and then getting it out right at the end. Baylor needs something to get them going as a team. Maybe that's the play right there.
Now Baylor 37 yards so far in this ball game total offense to 148 for Oklahoma State. Plenty of time though in the first. The first half, and they'll try to let Florence do something with his running ability, and he is going to be ushered out of bounds. Just check down with Lewis.
Well, Ron, we all know the colors of Baylor are green and gold, and in the first game of the season, they went out on the field versus Wake Forest in all white uniforms, and today, a surprise for homecoming, all gold on this 100th homecoming anniversary. I was talking with one of your old buddies, Ron, Robert Allen, radio for Oklahoma State, and he was saying, wonder if those colors are different enough for the quarterbacks to be able to see their wide receivers as we watch another reception there.
Well, they found it there with Ernest Smith, the senior out of New Orleans. He picked up 14 on that play. And, you know, it's funny, Lewis and Kelly, we've seen Baylor on offense today. They have a couple of good plays, and they shoot themselves in the foot. And they go to the hurry-up. Finley. Nice job on first down. He'll get 9.
You have a little energy here right now, Ron, in this stadium. The fans are getting loud. That nice fourth down play by Atchison may get them going. The offense seems to have taken that, but they have to be able to get something on the scoreboard in order to take advantage of it.
And Finley stays in the ball game, and he's got the football, and he's got the first down. Goes down to the 46-yard line. With Finley in the ball, you know, we talk about Robert Griffin. But when they also lost Finley, that was as big a blow, because Art Brow's game right now offensively, you have to have a good running back.
Well, with Griffin, you have two good running backs. You have Finley and Griffin in the game, and Art Browse likes to run the football, and that really is what sets the tone for this entire scheme. It's a spread scheme, but a lot of veer concepts and offensive line movement up front in order to run the football effectively.
And he says, please don't call it a spread. He calls it an altered tempo team. Likes to change the tempo throughout the game. He has veer concepts, as you mentioned, and run pass reads.
They also have a delay of the game penalty on an offense that's having issues.
Florence was looking, saying, wait a minute.
Delay game on the offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Fourth penalty on Baylor. Live November 18th on Versus. The belt will be on the line in the WEC. Can Mike Brown continue his reign as the #1 featherweight fighter in the world? Or will #1 contender Jose Aldo dethrone the champ? Brown Aldo for the featherweight title, live November 18th, only on Versus. Pushes the ball back 5 yards, 1st and 15, 9.5 to play in the opening 30 minutes. Justin Akers with the reception. He'll get inside Oklahoma State territory. Lewis.
Yeah, I've got a question for Kelly. As a quarterback, you know, you're up high and you can see this, but the contrast between these jerseys, the gold and the white, is not too great. You know, what if Oklahoma State had known ahead of time and they could have flipped and gone orange up top? Would you, as a quarterback, have preferred that?
I don't know that it really makes a difference. I think there is enough distinction where I don't think it's really going to affect the quarterback play. I see what you're saying, because it is kind of odd, but I really don't think it's going to affect the quarterback.
Well, that affected Ernest Smith. I'm not sure he ran the right pattern there, Kelly.
He wasn't ready for the football, that's for sure. And those are the kind of hiccups right now that Baylor does. You talked about one good play, and then they take a step backwards. The delay of game puts them behind once again and down in distance.
And it's 3rd down and 13. 2 of 4 so far this afternoon. A little fake to Finley. Off the hands of the intended receiver, Ernest Smith. Pass may have been a little high. Coverage by Markel Martin, the sophomore out of Wichita Falls, Texas.
Ron, with a quarterback in Nick Florence that hasn't played much, and you've had to play 2 quarterbacks quite a bit this year when Griffin got hurt, you can see the little nuances where the quarterback is trying to hook up with receivers. The receiver moves just a little bit more inside. Geddes did on that play. The ball ends up high and behind him. Those are the little things right now that Baylor isn't doing very well.
Epperson punting with the win. Parrish Cox, best in the Big 12, standing back at his 10. And he's going to wisely let this go into the end zone. 49 yards on the kick. Oklahoma State with another possession. They only have 10, but they lead Baylor to nothing. Tell you, Sidney Crosby had a couple of goals last night?
Yeah, I think you had told me that once or twice.
Just want to make sure you knew that. Oklahoma State 1st and 10. Ball's on the 20-yard line, leading 10-0. 148 yards for Oklahoma State, 64 for Baylor, who hasn't had the ball all that much. The pitch back to Tostin. You can hear the pads popping up here. He gets up to the 28-yard line. Pickup of 8 on the play. Pavelic with his second tackle of the afternoon. You know, we talked about balance, and you brought up a great point the other day. You go back to 07. This Oklahoma State offense was exactly the same offense, passing and rushing, same yards, as they go back to the run to get the first down. And then you go to 08, almost evenly balanced again, and this year a little bit more skewed to passing. But that has been a trait of Mike Gundy, having this balanced type offense.
Yeah, incredible balance. And that's balance when you're talking about an offense equates to really pressuring the defense as best you can. When you're two-dimensional, and you are if you're balanced, and you're highly effective in both areas, that's why they put up the numbers they have for really the last 3 seasons.
Both Johnson and Tostin in the backfield. Robinson looking for the pitch, and he does. A little late on the pitch, but able to get up to the 34-yard line, pick up a 4 on the play. You know, just what we were talking about just a second ago, but you can see that when you go back to even 2006, but 2007, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, a lot of coaches will tell you that they strive for balance, and it's not just balance in play calling, it's balance in the yards that we see here. That means both areas are being very effective, and that's what makes Oklahoma State, you know, score 41 points a game last season, and they're on pace to do that again this year.
Unless you're Mike Leach, balance to him is parts of the field.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't go as far as play runs and passes. Robinson fakes like he's going to pitch it. Wide open inside the 45-yard line to the 43-yard line. Tracy Moore, the true freshman out of Tulsa Union High School. This young man's got the big body, kind of an H-back kind of guy. He's got his 5th reception of the year.
Well, the thing that jumps out is how much time Zac Robinson has to throw this football. That is a late developing play, and it took Moore a lot of time to get down that sideline. And Robinson is getting a lot of things done, but it's incredibly comforting for a quarterback when you can sit back there and have all the time in the world to throw.
Well, I think they're going to review it, and that'll be the 3rd replay so far this afternoon.
Moore, I don't know that he really caught that football clean, and he didn't seem like he was well aware of where his feet were that time. He got toward the sideline. I wonder if they're questioning whether he actually had possession of it.
Well, Scott Novak is the referee today, and I understand there have been some technical problems with the beeper. It's upstairs. It's just beeping.
Just incessantly beeping?
I guess. Because
there was no stoppage for play. Play stands as ruled on the field.
There's that beeper again.
Those crazy beepers.
Might want to take the batteries out of there and just have someone signal you in another way.
Just get like a white flag and wave it from the press box.
I thought that beeping was like in my head.
Well, Art Briles has to be a little frustrated, known as an offensive football coach, and a good one at that, down in Houston, of course, turning that program around, but here at Baylor even last year. But boy, his weapons are diminished.
Oh, to say the least. And his defense, conversely, has had to stay on the field a lot of times. You have to try to find a play somewhere in the drive that will enable you to get off the football field.
You have to make your defense come up with something big. Straight up the middle is Bo Johnson. Crosses the 30 down to the 25-yard line. Another first down for the Cowboys. That'll be their 12th first down of the first half as we welcome you inside Floyd Casey Stadium in Waco, Texas. An absolutely perfect day for football. Temperature now in the 60s. Along with Lewis Johnson, Kelly Stoffer, I'm Ron Thulin. Oklahoma State leading Baylor 10-0. Baylor, of course, without their All-American freshman or sophomore now quarterback Robert Griffin. He's been out a couple of games. Nick Florence got the start for him. And Oklahoma State with 6 minutes to play in the half, piling up the yards. Here's Robinson, steps away, steps up, gets it away. Wide open at the 18-yard line is Cooper Bassett, the redshirt freshman out of Tuttle, Oklahoma. His first catch of the year and of his career. Pickup of 9 on the play.
Zac Robinson doing a nice job of avoiding really a defender coming in there clean that time, and Antonio Jones getting pressure right up the middle. But what a weapon when your quarterback can move not only outside the pocket, but those subtle movements inside the pocket that enables you to get the throw off. Incredibly valuable at that position.
7 different receivers have already caught passes today for Oklahoma State. Talked at the top of the show about the diversity with Dez Bryant out. We're seeing it today. Little pump fake, looking for the go route. It's not there. Well covered. Robinson changes directions and throws his 62nd touchdown pass of his career. Dameron Fuchs.
Fuchs had all the time in the world to work, and Zac Robinson doing a nice job of being patient. Only 2 receivers out in the route right there, and Fuchs starts outside, works his way back inside, but absolutely no hurry is Zac Robinson on that play.
And the extra point is good. 3 minutes and 36 seconds it took them to cover 80 yards, and they did it in 7 plays. But the man has been Zac Robinson today. 11 of 14, 132 yards and a couple of TDs. Thank you very much, Al. The homecoming crowd here at Floyd Casey Stadium. And for Oklahoma State, you go back to the start of 2007. In 33 games since then, Zac Robinson has failed to throw a touchdown pass in only 3 games. This time he able to hook up Dameron Fuchs, a very late signee, the former high school quarterback. And Oklahoma State efficient, to say the least, on offense. This is Terrence Williams, about a yard deep. Bounces off the pile, able to get up to about the 24-yard line. Kelly, let's go back to that touchdown once again.
The thing I want you to see is the casualness that Zac Robinson is approaching this game. Watch the pump fake as a double move to Anium on that side. Nothing there. He casually kind of strolls to his right, makes a nice throw back inside slightly to his left when he's rolling right. But just the methodical nature that he's displaying out there right now. Zac Robinson has been that common denominator when Oklahoma State was trying to find some weapons, and that young man is in a great rhythm right now.
Last 2 touchdown drives, Robinson 7 of 7 for 97 yards. Here is Kendall Wright. Kendall Wright, just a sophomore out of Pittsburgh, Texas. Has 83 receptions in the 18 games leading up to today, averaging about 5.5 yards per receptions per game. But he doesn't seem like he's getting the touches he did last week. On the ground, Finley pushed out of bounds up at the 38-yard line. That'll be good for a first down. Lucian Antoine on the stop.
Well, what Art Briles wants to do in this offense is he wants to dictate the tempo, get a lot of different personnel groups in there, but what Oklahoma State is doing is they're saying, we're going to make you prove that you can drive the football. We're going to limit the big play and make you do a whole lot of things right.
Lawrence with a pump fake, going, looking for Geddes, the speedster, and the trackster gets inside the 25. And they're going to say he actually went down at the 27-yard line, 26-yard line.
And Geddes is that big-bodied receiver, the track guy. He's going to come right inside down the seam. You see it's quarters coverage, and it means 2 safeties are back there. And Geddes basically split both of them with his speed, and a nice job of getting him the football by Florence.
Geddes, an outstanding trackster. This time they swing it outside. So Luby tries to find the corner. Able to get down to about the 24-yard line.
But that big chunk of yardage is very important for Baylor right now because they aren't doing enough things right, consistently right, in order to drive the ball and get points wrong. They have to get big chunks, and that pass to Geddes may be just exactly what they needed.
Well, this is the deepest they've gotten, I think, in this ball game as we go inside of 3:45 to play in the first half. Fake, pass, knocked down, incomplete.
It's plays like that right there. Now, really nobody was at fault. It's a quick throw. It gets batted down, but now it moves you behind in the sticks once again. So you have to come up with a play on 3rd down to try to extend this drive.
And it's 3rd down and long. We'll call it 7. Geddes goes wide to the right. Kendall right in the slot on the left. Here comes some pressure. Florence dancing around, gets away from the first wave. This is a prayer, and it is incomplete. 4 white jerseys around the intended receiver, Ernest Smith.
Ernest Smith is deep in the end zone, and Florence doing a nice job of buying time, throws it up, and Ernest Smith just can't go up and make that play. And actually, the ball should have been out much earlier than that. The Kendall right over the ball, but I think the young quarterback, Nick Florence, took his eyes off downfield, feeling a little bit of pressure, but he had time to deliver that football right over the middle to right.
This will be a 41-yard field goal attempt by Ben Parks, the sophomore from Argyle, Texas. He sidewinds this, and it's not good. Wide to the left. Well, Nick Florence had a nice try, and once again, it goes back to what we said in the first quarter, Kelly, and then second. You know, here Nick Florence has a couple of good plays, and then boom.
The question right now that Art Briles doesn't have an answer to are, who are my drive finishers? Right. And he just doesn't really have one out there right now. It starts with the quarterback. Griffin's not in there. Florence is, and he really doesn't have anyone that can finish drives.
3:22 to play in the half. Let's see how Oklahoma State finishes things out. Here is Keith Toston again on another run, the power runner. Last 2 games, he's had 50 carries and 217 yards. Talk about toting the rock. He's done it.
And he seems like the type of back that gets better the more he carries it. He's more of a thicker back, and he seems to like the workload, and he becomes more efficient, more effective the more he touches it.
2nd and 3 from the 31.
Pickup of 7 on that last play. 2nd down and 3. Oklahoma State content keeping it on the ground. Not much of a gain on that. Let's check in on how Iowa State Nebraska's doing. Here's Al.
Ron, it's a Wing Street game break delivered by Pizza Hut as Jerome Tiller quiets the Red Sea, finding Jake Williams 47 yards down the field. Extra point blocked, however, so it's 9-7. Back to you.
All right, once again, Nebraska and Baylor next week right here on Versus.
Now, Iowa State is a much improved team. We've seen them on Versus already this year, and they certainly, Paul Rhodes has a lot of good things happening with that football team.
Austin Arnott had a great game against Baylor last week on 3rd down and 3. The pile continues to push. They get up to the 35-yard line. That should be good enough for a 1st down, and we'll stop the clock with 2:02 to play in the half. Well, time now for the Nissan Heisman Watch. That'll be coming up, and we've got a couple of names. You know, and I think Toby Gerhardt, Stanford, needs to be in there somewhere after what we saw.
I think he's, you know, he's a top maybe 7 or 8 type guy. I don't know that he's in a top 5 yet, but he's certainly very productive, no question.
I don't think there's one guy that's jumping out this year.
Which is amazing when you have Bradford, Tebow, and McCoy all coming back.
Here's Bo Johnson. He tries to get to the corner on the left side. Able to pick up about 3 on the play before Jeremy Williams coming up from that safety spot. That is his 5th tackle already of the ball game. They call that actually the hero position. They use Hero and Fritz. Fritz linebacker. When we asked Brian Norwood, where'd you come up with that? He goes, well, those were Joe Paterno's terms, and actually Fritz is named after Joe Paterno's pizza guy. You gotta love that. Of course, Brian was a longtime assistant at Penn State with Joe Pa. Running game with Bo Johnson.
Ron, the thing that really strikes me about Oklahoma State is, you know, they're a spread you out, make you play in space type of offense. They have a lot of wide receivers to work with, but they are very physical at the line of scrimmage. They're a veteran offensive line, 4 seniors and a redshirt freshman up front, and they will absolutely knock you stiff.
Well, Baylor's going to call their first timeout with 58 seconds left in the half. Are you surprised that Oklahoma State has not gone for the proverbial kill in this final when they took the ball over with just over 2.5?
I think it's a great time if you're Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy, head coach, play caller. I think it's a great time to work on your 2-minute situation. They still have 2 timeouts, or actually 1 timeout left, about a minute. There's still plenty of time to get down the field in this style of offense and get points on the board.
Well, this season, college football is on versus.com. Sign up and play the College Football Pick'em Challenge. Compete against your friends for bragging rights, or see how you can stack up against studio analyst Roland Williams. For everything college football, log on to versus.com. 58 seconds left to play in the half. 3rd down and 6 from the 39 for Oklahoma State. Robinson sees some pressure, dumps it off to Tostin, and he is hit immediately. Mike Hicks, the true freshman out of China Springs, Texas, coming up to make the stop. And that'll be a timeout for Baylor. They're thinking about getting the ball back.
Yeah, why not? I think if you're our Bras, you certainly have nothing to lose. You have a couple timeouts remaining, something positive to happen, maybe a nice punt return, punting into the wind. They should have an opportunity, but Mike Hicks did a very nice job on that play up from his safety position.
We got a big day on Versus. Of course, we start things off with Zac Robinson, one of the best in the Big 12, already throwing a couple of touchdown passes. His team leading 17-0 with 53 seconds left. Air Force Utah coming up after us. And what a great name, Eddie
Wide for a running back, and
should
Mike
be a field goal kicker.
Filling in for Mike Asiata. He was a featured running back, and now it's Wide in 3 100-yard games, doing a nice job at Utah's running game.
That'll be coming up next. Quinn Sharp, this is off the side of his foot. Almost hits a Baylor player, and I'm not sure if the officials said it did. No, they're saying it will be Baylor's football with 44 seconds left. They're spotting it about the 23-yard line. This almost hit somebody from Baylor.
Well, the way this works is the receiver is supposed to run up there and say, Peter, 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 or whatever your word is, and try to get everybody on your team out of the way. The amazing thing is how did that not hit a Baylor player right there?
Well, Oklahoma State did the smart thing, just fall on the football. Win and down, and now Baylor quickly in formation. Oklahoma State just running on the field. Here's Florence. Throws underneath the coverage to Justin Akers, the big tight end out of Deer Park, Texas.
Akers didn't get the ball out of bounds, and so the clock is not going to stop Baylor. If they want to get anything done, they need to have a sense of urgency right here.
Well, Levine on the tackle. He's already with 6 this afternoon. Final 23 seconds. Florence over the middle. Caught Kendall Wright. Nice catch as he takes quite a wallop after he made the catch by Levine. And that'll move the chains with 15 to play in the half.
When it's spotted, the clock's going to roll. You have to get it snapped immediately with 12 and ticking.
Oklahoma State 3-man rush. Florence looks to the sideline to Geddes. And he dances out of bounds with 5 seconds left. Now what do? You got to go for the big tater here.
I think if you throw a quick one to the sideline, you can do it in 5 seconds, get immediately out of bounds. Can't be too far down the field, but it looks right now like I think Baylor's going to line up and do their version of the Hail Mary right here and see how far Nick Florence can throw the football down the field.
Well, they are going with the win. Oklahoma State only a 3-man rush, so they will have plenty of time. And Florence throws this up. It's floating. It's tipped and it's incomplete. And that's the way the first half will end. Baylor coming out with a late run to get up to 150 total yards. Oklahoma State 243. But the most important number is Baylor did not score in that first 30 minutes. Oklahoma State leading it 17-0. Here's Coach Gundy with our Lewis Johnson.
All right, Ron, thanks so much. Coach, give us your thoughts on the first half, led by your quarterback, Zac Robinson.
Well, we just got to continue executing on offense, hit some runs in there. Our backs are doing a good job, hit a few passes. And then defensively, we just got to stay firm, defend everything like we have been, and tackle well.
You're up 17-0. You got a bit of a cushion, but what do you say to players in the locker room about not being too relaxed when they come back out here?
Well, they got to start the game just like we did in the first quarter. We got to go right back and play hard.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Ron?
All right, big day for Zac Robinson, 12 of 15, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's one of the reasons why Oklahoma State leads at 17-0. Now let's join Al Troutwig, Roland Williams, and Christian Fourier in our Versus studio with the Geico halftime show.
Okay, Ron, it's all Oklahoma State. Nothing coming easy for the Baylor Bears. Bottom line here in this game so far, Zac Robinson runs a pretty good show.
Well, you heard Coach Mike Gundy say he's feeling all right, but you have to be impressed with Zac Robinson, the quarterback. He is being a leader in his first half, and I like how he's getting the ball to all of his receivers. He starts out showing you, getting the ball to the tight end. I always love that, number 86, Mr. Wilson Human. But what I like is that he's finding all of his guys. You know, sometimes you got to get everybody involved. Dez Bryant, he's not around, but that's okay. Zac Robinson showing you the leadership that you expect out of a guy competing for an opportunity for a big bowl game and hopefully getting a shot maybe at a Big 12 championship. I don't know. Who knows? Still early.
Well, Christian, anytime you put up a 0.5, you're doing something right.
Yeah, you know, we talked about in the pregame show how, you know, the offense gets a lot of credit, but the defense, you know, they're trying to build on something for next week. So what do they want to do? Get some confidence right away. And what happens? Donald Booker makes an interception on the second series. First series is 3 and out. And what else do you want to do? You want to stop the run, make these guys go east and west. Look at all the white shirts all around the ball. I mean, they're doing a great job. You want to stop the run. They want to stop that balanced attack of Baylor, and that's exactly what they're doing, just like we talked about.
Weird circumstance, almost not knowing who the quarterback is going to be right up until the start of the game.
I think they know who's going to be the quarterback. They just don't want to tell us.
With a Big 12 North. An unbearable first half for Baylor, and all the numbers favor the Cowboys. They've got more first downs, more rushing yards, more passing yards, and that's how you lead 17-0 at the half. We'll see if Baylor can turn things around after this on Versus.
Consecutive games in which they've trailed at halftime, dating back to 3 years ago when they beat Kansas. Now they're down 17-0 at half. Low at Kelly Stoffer, Amron Thulin. You look at Baylor, lack of run game has caused some problems, and on the other side of the football, Oklahoma State's been very consistent and very balanced on offense.
Yeah, Oklahoma State is what we thought they were. They're very balanced. Zac Robinson is a player now, and he's in a great rhythm. Baylor, they're one-dimensional in that dimension. Their passing game isn't very efficient either, so they have some issues. Art Briles needs to find something in the second half.
Well, Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State will get this ball right here in the second half, and I think what Art Briles needs to do is his defense needs to come up with some stop right here, get Oklahoma State off the field, and then get something going offensively and try to get back in this football game.
See what Oklahoma State does. First possession of the second half. Here's Victor Johnson dancing around, still on his feet. Penalty flag is thrown on the near side. Gets up over the 32-yard line.
See, there's an opportunity for Baylor right there. You'll hang your hat on anything.
Return, block in the back. Number 92 of the return team. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Well, just a moment ago, our Lewis Johnson caught up with Baylor head coach Art Briles.
Coach, what do you do to get this offense going? Do you stick with Flores? Do you get to Szymanski? What are you going to do?
Stop them right now on defense, get the ball back, go score, make it a 17-7 ball game.
Why has it been so hard to get to Zac Robinson?
Good football player. You saw him playing Baden, you know, a while ago. We're going to stay after him.
All right, thanks.
That's the order of the day right here, and I think he has a good situation. Oklahoma State with the penalty, the holding on that run back right there, I think backs him up. Baylor's defense, even though they've been out there a long time, really in the last few weeks, need to come up with a play and let the offense get back out there as soon as possible.
Well, this is the worst field position for Oklahoma State to begin a drive. Baylor making a late substitution on the defensive side, having to add a player. And here's Zac Robinson. Great first 30 minutes, and he picks up where he left off. Another completion. That should be good enough for a first down, and that is Hubert Anium again.
See, Ron, and that's the tough matchup for Baylor. Brian Norwood would like to have the ability to get up here and press the receivers, but note the soft coverage on Anium. That's just too easy for a good receiver and a veteran quarterback. It's just plain catch out there if you don't get up in the receiver's face if you're Baylor.
Hutcherson and Odom and even Chip Casey are giving the wide receivers of Oklahoma State a lot of room. Robinson throws back. This play has worked again. Toasted up over the 35 to the 38-yard line. But when we see those cornerbacks, Kelly, playing off 7 to 10 yards, that's because they're young. They really can't pressure these guys.
Yeah, Hutcherson can do a little bit of that. But remember, he has a hand issue and has a club on one hand, so that makes it difficult. But you're right. The youth in that secondary really limits what Brian Norwood can do right now.
Of the last 2 games, Zac Robinson's averaged about 16 yards a pass on first down. He's not afraid to throw on first down. That was for 15. Well, here are the Papa John's conference leaders, and this is kind of what we've been talking about, not only in the last few minutes, but throughout the game. The yards completion, and you see what Robinson has done. Pretty good company, though.
Take the total attempts or completions, and you get this number right here, and that is called pressure. Robinson over 14 yards of completion, and that is a good way, efficient way to move down the field. Doing a nice job here today as well.
Much more detailed on offense, Oklahoma State is, since losing Bryant. And, of course, Kendall Hunter, who has not seen any action yet. There's Bo Johnson, fights his way to the 45-yard line. That'll be a pickup of about 2.5 on the play. Tracy Robertson's first stop of the day.
You get a little insight to what Mike Gundy's doing offensively. They go multiple tempos. We've talked about that, but they'll get to the line of scrimmage, and they will hurry up. But if they don't like it, they back up and can call another play as well once the defense has defined themselves. Just like that right there, Zac Robinson looks over to the sideline. They may change the play, or they may go with what they already have called.
It's 3rd down and 4. Plenty of time to snap it. Play clock is at 8. Not much of a rush. Complete. Another first down. And again, it's Anium. 6 receptions already today.
Anium's just going to come in on the slot, and the defender that flashes underneath is Joe Pavelik from that right there, from that linebacker position. That's the problem. That underneath coverage isn't getting there in time, and it's making it too easy for Anium and Robinson to hook up.
First 3 games, 0 catches for Anium. Since then, how about 22 catches?
Not bad.
He only had 9 his first year and a half at Oklahoma State.
Can you say featured receiver without Dez Bryant in the game?
And he's just a sophomore. He toasted. Getting good chunks of yards again on first down. That was probably worth about 5.
And that's the key, Ron, right there. Oklahoma State can run the football effectively. They control down and distance. A 5-yard run on first down, it really puts you in a great position to do anything you want on second down and still be in a position to convert and move the chains.
And again, this Baylor defense spending a lot of time on the field. First 2 Big 12 games they were on the field, 181 plays. Little play action. They set up the screen again to Toasted. He's got the first down, goes out of bounds, but not before he gets down to the 32-yard line. Pickup of 9 on the play. That play is worked and worked and worked.
Well, that's somewhat an extension of the run game at Oklahoma State, is the screen game. Not only the quick screens outside to wide receivers, but then they figure that running back position into the screen game as well.
Once again, as we mentioned in the first quarter, they're throwing to the running backs a lot more, and that's by design this year. After a little self-scouting in the offseason, DeMarcus Conner, that'll be his 2nd reception of the day, 3rd for his senior season.
And once again, we see the soft coverage outside by Clifton Odom. Inexperienced, matched up on a decent receiver in Conner, and it just makes it too easy, Ron. If you can't jam the receiver, at least at times on the line of scrimmage, they get into their releases, get upfield, and Zac Robinson is going to find them.
DeMarcus Conner, mainly known as a blocker, had 3 receptions last year. He's got 3 this year. Shows Zac Robinson is spreading the wealth around today. Toasted. What do you say when you get chunks like that? I think that's Bo Johnson on the carry. Bo Johnson's done a nice job today.
He really has, and they had about even carries in that first half. I think Johnson had 10, and Tostin had 9, and once again, the balance out of that running back position, you don't have Kendall Hunter, so divide the carries. The last couple of weeks, Tostin has been that workhorse.
And Bo Johnson's been dinged up this year.
Little press coverage coming now. It looks like Baylor's getting more comfortable. This safety will try to help him deep if he can.
And that's Anium, the receiver. Now the cornerback's off. And Robinson looking down the middle for a receiver. Tipped away. Nice defensive play. Intended for Anium, and Chance Casey, that true freshman, gets the hand on the football.
Well, Baylor was coming after Robinson, but Anium's going to go on the deep slant route. Good coverage by Casey and good help by Lake. If you're going inside to the hash area, Ron, against Baylor, you better know where number 21 is, because he's just looking to take the head off a wide receiver.
Well, you got to love a safety whose heroes are Jack Tatum and John Lynch. A couple of helmet breakers.
Yeah, they've broken some helmets in their days, no question about that.
Second down and 10. Ball's on the 19-yard line. Robinson looking down the middle. Wide open. Touchdown, Oklahoma State's Cooper Bassett. His first of his Oklahoma State career.
Ron, this is very similar to the route that Human caught in the first half, the tight end on that touchdown. There's an outside receiver, and then the tight end kind of sneaks right up the hash. Zac Robinson doing a great job of finding the tight end in the end zone.
Robinson was 6 of 7, 71 yards on that drive for Mike Gundy.
Hey, if it works once to the tight end in the end zone, why not go back again? Mike Gundy through Zac Robinson finds Bassett in the end zone.
Oklahoma State has scored 24 points in each game versus Baylor in Big 12 play. Zac Robinson on the 3 touchdown drives. He's 13 of 14, 168 yards, only 1 incompletion on the TD drives for that young man.
11 plays, 87 yards, a little over 5 minutes, and Zac Robinson has been that one constant in this Oklahoma State offense as Mike Gundy's tried to find new faces to put in there without Bryant and Hunter. I think they're in pretty good hands.
You see the press on the eye black underneath. That was what his late grandfather used to tell him all the time. Press on, and he's doing it today. Williams has some problems. Tries to get some of the yards back, and he does, up to about the 13-yard line. Let's go back to that TD.
Oklahoma State is going to stress this defender who goes to the flat, and Lake is right here. The tight end Bassett is right there. He's going to come down the seam, or actually the hash. If you don't jam the big tight end at the line of scrimmage, he gets on the safety too quickly and makes it too easy. The ball gets there before Jordan Lake can get over and break it up.
Well, our Bryles team has had some problems with penalties the last couple of games, and they just got another one. It's a holding penalty.
Wow.
That'll back them up half the distance, so that puts it down at about the 5-yard line.
Well, when you're challenged offensively, you certainly don't want to start with your backs inside the shadow of your own goalpost right here. It makes it very difficult.
Well, Oklahoma State started with their worst field position. Now Baylor begins with their worst field position. Lawrence just wings it out to the far side to Lanier Simpson. He breaks a couple of tackles and gets him some breathing room. Up over the 20 or so. Sampson with the reception. That is his 14th of the year.
You do not want to repeat this half.
Yeah.
Punt, mistake, punt, mistake, and then luckily the half ended and they can go in and make some adjustments. But I think that quick screen game to wide receiver Sampson, number 18 on that play, with no running game, Ron, that's what you have to go to try to get some momentum.
They looked for a little razzle and dazzle, and they didn't do it. Just a short path up to about the 21, maybe 2-yard line. That's one thing about this Baylor offense. When it does have the personnel to run, Art Bryles is one of the more creative offensive minds in college football. And even the Oklahoma State defense said, listen, they provide so much against you, you've got to have a bunch of defenses ready for them.
Yeah, Bill Young, the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma State, said just that. You have to defend so many things. But right now, Baylor just doesn't have the personnel on the field at any one time to run all of those multiple aspects of Art Briles' offense.
Finley caught behind the line, keeps his feet, and he's not going anywhere. Playing on a sore ankle and a sore quad. The first hit coming up by Hugo Chinasa, the junior out of Richardson-Berkner High School. You know, when you talk to the coaches about Chinasa, the first thing they say is he's been able to force. Bill Young, a longtime defensive coordinator, says he's forced quarterbacks to make bad decisions this year.
Yeah, those edge rushers is where really Oklahoma State needed to improve defensively, is get pressure on the edge. They have talent, they have speed, they just needed to get it going in the right direction.
3rd down and 9. Florence has some time, throws it deep down the sideline for Geddes. It's tipped incomplete, but we've got a penalty flag. Well covered by McGee and Johnson. We're not sure who the penalty is going to be thrown on.
Pass interference on the defense, number 4. 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic. First down.
I don't think he meant number 4. Well, that's just Levine. He wasn't even in on the play.
He certainly wasn't on the play downfield, and Levine is that linebacker, outside linebacker. He's not in the play. Certainly where this official throws it, you can see Victor Johnson, number 3, the safety, coming off the hash, and McGee was in bump and run coverage underneath the Geddes. I did not see Levine in that screen.
I didn't either. Salubi in motion, and the pitch bobbled. And Kendall Wright takes an absolute wallop from Lucian Anton. This was dangerous.
Well, this was like somewhat of a pitch that was set up even the play before. You toss it, Kendall Wright almost acted like Florence. He was expecting Florence to hand that football off. Good job of hand-eye coordination to even locate that thing after it bounced off his face mask.
2nd down and 8. Kendall Wright puts his hands up, wants the football. Instead, they go down deep, and it should have been picked off. Andrew McGee had his hands on it.
McGee's that outside defender in quarters coverage. 4 deep defenders basically divide the field in quarters. Geddes the deep play guy and doing a good job of breaking that football up. But that's how it's supposed to be defended. McGee should have had that football, but doing a nice job of coming off the hash.
3rd down and 8 for Baylor. Brad Taylor goes in motion. Florence has some time, throws it underneath up to the 50-yard line. That'll be good for a first down. Justin Akers on the reception, but we'll have a hold against Baylor, and it's coming back.
3rd down.
My goodness.
Yeah, I think Philip Blake is going to get called for this. Number 74, the right tackle, trying to hold up so Florence could get that football down the field. But man alive, when it rains, it pours. Baylor just, like you said, Ron, so many times, and Art Briles said this, you take a step or 2 forward, and then all of a sudden you come a step or 2 backward. You can't get anywhere doing that.
6 penalties already for Baylor, and that is going to be frustrating for that man. Now Geddes goes wide to the right. He goes into the slot. Chris Burt goes even farther to the right. 3rd down and 18. Oklahoma State, they're going to bring 4. Florence, the pump fake. Near side, long pass, just out of the outstretched hands of Ernest Smith. Pretty good coverage, though, by Oklahoma State. A number of guys on that coverage.
See, that's what makes Oklahoma State defensively a little bit different than what Baylor's able to do defensively. Oklahoma State really likes their matchup out on the edges, and so they're willing to go press coverage, bump and run man-to-man, leave a safety in the middle of the field, and there have been many times when Baylor has been able to take advantage of that defense.
And now Parrish Cox standing back at his 25-yard line, and this will be returnable. Looking up into the sun, hits off his pad, still has it. Tries to outrun the coverage, and he's not able to do it. And you don't see that happen very often. Brought down back at the 15-yard line. 50 yards on the kick, and he lost 7 on the return. Also in Waco, Texas, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. In fact, they're adding a new edition on it right now, but you see some very famous Texans in there and all the fight songs, including the Baylor fight song. And Lewis Lewis has more on that. Here's Lewis.
Well, Ron, it was back in 1947 when the man sitting next to me, Mr. Frank Boggs, penned that actual song, the new Baylor fight song. And so as you sit here flanked by your grandsons here in 2009, what do you remember back that year when you were a junior, and what was wrong with the original fight song?
It was so hard to sing, and nobody knew the words. And so Dick Baker and I said, we need a song like Notre Dame, like Michigan, that's easy to sing, easy to remember. So in about 45 minutes, we wrote the new fight song.
And so in 45 minutes, you had it scripted, then you took it across campus and gave it to the band director. What happened from there?
The band director loved it. He orchestrated it, and every game since 47, they've used our fight song, and we gave them the royalty rights.
How about that? I bet you a lawyer today would tell you that wasn't a good idea, but again, it's all about loving your school. What does a day like this mean to you as you listen to people sing your fight song? You've got your grandsons here just celebrating a Baylor homecoming.
It just is so thrilling, especially for my grandsons to share this. Joshua and Franklin, and they're both really sold on Baylor.
Guys, I'd make you sing the fight song, but I guess I wouldn't want to show you up on national TV, so I'll let you off the hook, okay? Congratulations. Enjoy your day, sir.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Ron?
All right, thanks, Lewis. After that wonderful punt of 50 yards and a -7 return, there was a procedure penalty on Baylor, so they had to re-kick, and the kick was 45, and Oklahoma State gets it at the 32, so they actually gained 17 yards because of that procedure penalty and the re-kick. And once again, here, Baylor does something well, Kelly, and then the penalty.
It's unbelievable how many times that's happened, and that's actually been kind of the order of the day the last few game days. Baylor just hasn't been able to get anything established offensively, and any good play that they have generally is right on the heels of, or the next play is they take a step backwards, and it's the same thing here today.
Two wide receivers to the left after the pickup of 3 inside of 6 minutes left here in quarter number 3. Big day of football here on Versus. This is the first of the triple header. Bo Johnson, right side, maybe gets about 3 on the play. Oklahoma State very content with just running the football. 27 rushes, 18 passes today. Part of that balanced offense, and Toston and Johnson doing all the running. For those of you just joined us, Kendall Hunter has not played. He's their big play guy. We thought there was a chance he would see action today after sitting out the last 4 games. I don't think there's any question Oklahoma State was not looking ahead to next week's battle with Texas.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they've done a nice job here today. They've been able to kind of do a lot of things kind of in a methodical kind of way. Not a lot of pressure from Baylor, but I think especially Zac Robinson very efficient.
On 3rd down and 4, Robinson loses the football. Bo Johnson comes up with it, but not before he's dropped back at the 26-yard line. Elliott Coffey with the sack, and he forced the fumble. Elliott Coffey, number 2 sack for Baylor's defense. That's what Oklahoma State gave up all year coming into this game.
Elliott Coffey, that outside linebacker, is put out on the defensive end position for their Baylor speed package. Jason Lamb, a defensive end, goes inside, try to get more speed across the line of scrimmage to create more chaos, and successful on that play.
Lost 11 on the play, and kicking with a very stiff breeze. This will be back at the 27-yard line. Nothing going. 46 yards on the kick. Maybe a half a yard on the return. Oklahoma State on top of Baylor, 24-0. One of the great players, his jersey hanging in there. And once we, as you mentioned, they're having a new edition put on a lot of Texas Hall of Fame.
Is that
stars.
new edition where
I will be in there, yes.
display's going to be?
That way, our browse has gone to his bullpen. Blake Smansky's coming in. The 6'4", 210-pound senior out of Wichita Falls, Texas. He was the starter in 2007. Started last week against Iowa State. Threw 3 interceptions, was replaced by Flores, who came in and did a pretty good job. Now they reverse it as Geddes gets the reception.
So what changes with Zemansky? Is the answer is really nothing. I think the same offensive approach. Zemansky's a little better passer, not as mobile. The question is his decision making. He has 4 interceptions on the year, only 1 touchdown pass. As a senior, he needs to make good decisions right here in this point in time in the game.
Well, he's obviously the better thrower of the two, has the big arm. Here's Ernest Smith, steps out of bounds. And that'll be short of the first down, up to about the 32-yard line. Szymanski did throw for 223 last week versus Iowa State. In 07, he had a record for touchdowns and passing yardage, but he did throw 18 interceptions. Smith makes the catch, and he is upended, and he will be short of the first down. That'll bring up a fourth and about 4.5.
That's a good example of Oklahoma State's speed, rallying to the football, tackling well. Baylor designs that play, throwing short. They're expecting to get something after the catch, and they didn't get it on that play.
And they're going for it on fourth down. They're 3 of 8 this year in this situation. Boy, if they don't get it, Oklahoma State with this is a gamble.
I guess our brows can say we're not giving up. Yeah, the floodgates could open.
And they're going to try to run it, and they're stoned at the line of scrimmage. And the Boo Birds, part of the 38,000 here today, are out. Sexton came underneath to make that tackle. Now the Big 12 South, of course, Texas, they've got their hands full tonight against Missouri. Then Oklahoma State, Texas meeting next week at Boone Pickens Stadium. Mike Holder, the athletic director, telling me they're going to have the sellout of 60,000 for that game. Texas Tech, don't count them out, my friends. They've got A&M today. And Oklahoma, Baylor, and A&M. Whoever would have thought that Oklahoma would be 3-3 this time of year?
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. But Oklahoma State, the question is still, have you closed the gap on OU and Texas?
Yep.
And that's to be proven later this year, starting next week.
Now, Robinson just swings out to the outside to ante him again. Chance Casey having a nice game at that cornerback, that true freshman. And they've got to beat Texas. I mean, you know, if you're Oklahoma State, you've got to get that game that all of a sudden people go, okay, you do belong with the big guys up there.
You've done a lot of nice things, you know, thinking back to last year in 08. They went over Missouri, but they still couldn't close the deal. Oklahoma State couldn't in the South. They get their shot at starting that next week with Texas.
Texas has won 11 straight versus the Cowboys. They've got another first down inside the 25-yard line. You know, you talk about dual threat quarterbacks, passing and running. McCoy, Robinson. Well, look who they've passed. Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. Right in the middle of those two Texas quarterbacks is Zac Robinson. I really believe in the Big 12 because of all the big-name quarterbacks, mainly McCoy and Bradford. Zac Robinson has been kind of lost a little bit in all that hype in other places.
Well, you can even throw Todd Reesing in there, Graham Harrell last year. I tell you, he's as good as any of them. Throws it out into the flat. Pass will be complete inside the 25. At about the 24-yard line, but it'll be a pickup of only about 1 on the play. Wilson Yeoman on the catch.
See Zac Robinson run on that play. Some of that dual threat ability throwing to the big tight end on the sideline. But you're right. I think Zac Robinson being a true dual threat guy. I think when the running game with Kendall Hunter not working well at times and before they really settled into Tostin, I think Zac Robinson has the ability to take the running game on as well, and he's done a nice job of that up to this point in time in the season.
And he joins Zac Robinson in the backfield. Final 60 seconds of quarter number 3. Robinson looks left, throws right, and him again, leans forward down to the 18-yard line. Let's check with Al with an ACC update. Al.
Ron, it's a Wing Street game break delivered by Pizza Hut in a quagmire. Charlottesville, Georgia Tech has a ground game. The Cavaliers have been unable to get that going, so it's 27-9 now. A 20-yard run by Anthony Allen. Back to you and Kelly in Waco.
All right, thank you, Al. Long day for Al and the guys in the studio. Triple header coming up here on Versus today. Of course, the big one you're looking for later on tonight, Kelly. BYU and TCU. Final 19 seconds. On third down and about 3. Tostin tries to hop over the line. He's not going to get it. That'll bring up a fourth down and about 2. He's slow to get up. Mike Gundy, we mentioned earlier, doing probably the best coaching job he has done in his career. And his team will head to the final quarter with a 24-0 lead over the Baylor Bears. they decided to add 2 seconds to the clock, so Oklahoma State will have a chance to kick a 33-yard field goal into the wind with the orange shoes. The kick is up, and it is good. So Dan Bailey with the rather attractive kicks. He gets the field goal, and Oklahoma State now will head to the fourth quarter with an even bigger lead. We head to the final 15 minutes of play, and Oklahoma State throwing the shutout against Baylor. Homecoming weekend here in Waco, Texas, 27-0, along with Lewis Johnson and Kelly Stoffer. I'm Ron Thulin. Good to have you with us. A little confusion there at the end of quarter number 3, and evidently Baylor had called a timeout. Evidently, and that's where the confusion was. Sharp's kick. And it's going to be Terrence Williams just watching it go out of bounds. What a game for Zac Robinson this afternoon. 21 of 25, 219 yards, Kelly. He's been perfect.
And Ron, we've talked about this during the break. The word that jumps out at me is smooth. He's not in a hurry. He's surveying the field. He's getting great pass protection. He obviously is getting receivers open. A couple tight ends getting down the middle for touchdowns, but calm, cool, and collected. That's not a bad day right there, is it? 21 out of 25. 3 TDs, no mistakes.
And Baylor, meanwhile, trying to get something going offensively. They only have 176 yards in this game, 10 first downs, only 44 rushes on 15 attempts.
Man, that's tough. That is tough.
Oh, I tell you, when you don't have a run game in this kind of offense, you're really behind the 8 ball. But they keep plugging away. Szymanski's probably going to throw it a lot, and he is going to get hit and drop back at the 18-yard line. The ball is loose, but he was down.
And Szymanski is still down, and he came in for Nick Florence. Florence might need to be back out there. That sack, I think it was the throw to the ground afterwards. The ball came out late.
Well, he had a hurt shoulder anyway to begin with.
It looks like this one is his throwing shoulder, and you're right. The pressure comes in there, and Donald Booker comes off late. It was pretty good protection early, but came apart late.
Well, Szymanski's going to have to go out, and Florence comes back in, and the troubles just continue for this Baylor offense, and Jay Finley also back in. That's probably the one positive thing offensively for this Baylor team today. Booker having an outstanding game, by the way, for Oklahoma State at middle linebacker. Florence looks, throws. Kendall Wright had it, lost it. They're saying now it's incomplete. Kendall Wright should have caught that, though.
He really should have, Ron. You're exactly right. Florence does a nice job of waiting, throwing to Wright as he came inside. And the difference is with Baylor, they don't have a lot of time to secure that football because Oklahoma State is doing a nice job of breaking on the ball just as soon as it's caught. And number 16, Parrish Cox, does it on that play. But you have to secure it, get it tucked immediately, because there's going to be a defender coming on you right after you get the football.
Epperson handles the low snap and gets a wobbly spiral up in the air. Fair catch is called by Cox. And Oklahoma State with great field position again at the 47-yard line after the 36-yard kick. Oklahoma State has the football in a sizable advantage. Oklahoma State just 4 years removed from a last place finish in the Big 12. Now they have a 27-0 lead over Baylor. Mike Gundy telling us he was excited about the continuity of this team coming into the year. They didn't have a lot of issues. Their attitude was good. A lot of people were pointing towards 2009 for this Cowboy squad. Of course, then they lose Bryant, then they lose Kendall Hunter, but bouncing back from that loss in Houston has been impressive for Oklahoma State, mainly because of the play of their quarterback and even a couple of their running backs, including Keith Toston.
And Toston has done a nice job filling in for Kendall Hunter the last few weeks, but I think collectively Oklahoma State, you know, Ron, after the 08 season, the expectations, because of the talent level they now have, their big South Conference games are all at home. They have an opportunity, you know, the buzz after last season, all those things surrounding their offense, everything's in place for them to make a run.
And here's Tostin, breaks through into the secondary, lowers the head as he gets down to the 26-yard line. Tim Atchison finally is making the stop.
When you play Oklahoma State, you have to deal with the physical nature of at the line of scrimmage. This is a veteran offensive line, 4 seniors, play up front, a lot of playing time. And then Tostin is a downhill type of runner, a big-bodied back that, as you can see there, would rather hit somebody than run it out of bounds.
Says he's playing for his mom, Mickey, who's been fighting illness and knows she watches every game, tries to make the home games. Said that she is his inspiration. He's inspiring a lot of people this afternoon. Robinson, another completion. To tell you how precise Zac Robinson has been today on the 4 scoring drives by Oklahoma State, Kelly, 16 of 17 for Robinson, 184 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's precision, no question. And the thing that Oklahoma State, because of Zac Robinson, the thing they can do is they can take advantage of that soft coverage. If the defense for Baylor makes them put together plays in order to score points, they're very capable of doing that because of Zac Robinson.
Second down and short. Just about 3 minutes gone by here in the 4th quarter. Bo Johnson dancing his way for the first down as he gets inside the 10. Down to about the 9. You know, it's funny because defensive coordinator Brian Norwood, who's done an outstanding job with his defense, told us he wanted to make OSU methodical. Do the methodical things, no big plays. Well, they have been methodical, no real big plays, but they're still winning.
And Zac Robinson has not only been willing to be methodical, but he's been incredibly precise and efficient. And that's what happens when the defense has a game plan that's going to make you string together plays to score points. You have to have the ability to do that. Zac Robinson, Oklahoma State can do that.
Here's Bo Johnson. And Baylor doing a nice job stacking him up at the line of scrimmage. Tell you what kind of day it's been for Baylor. More than half of their tackles have been by defensive backs, 38 of 71.
Yeah, when your first and second level aren't figured into the game plan much, that obviously is going to be an issue, and it's because that's run game. It's really a physical, vicious, somewhat old-fashioned run game up front, and that's what you don't expect with the spread, but Oklahoma State can be physical at the same time, making you play in space.
Second down and goal from the 9-yard line. Oh, little razzle and some dazzle. Here comes Robinson looking. He has to dump it off, and it's not going to get a whole lot. Tracy Moore, the intended receiver, but we do have a penalty flag thrown again.
Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness on the offense. Tripping. Number 60. 15-yard penalty. Second down.
Brady Bond, that right tackle, got called for tripping on that play, but a little razzle-dazzle. It's somewhat unexpected, but in that red zone, Mike Gundy's willing to do everything. Now they called it tripping, I think, in the right side of the screen as Bond came in and threw the shoe duster at the Baylor defender and didn't get him on the first try, so he lifted his leg and tripped him to get him down on the second try.
Tracy Moore's reception for naught, and that'll push the ball back to the 24-yard line. Second and goal now from the 24. Robinson has time, streaking down the sideline. Pass is caught inside the 5, down to the 1-yard line. Justin Blackman, the redshirt freshman out of Ardmore, Oklahoma. They said this young man made big strides in the spring and made things happen this year.
Against the 2-deep coverage, you got to get that ball in there before the safety can get over top. Good job by Zac Robinson.
And then Oklahoma State tries to get the 6. We have another penalty flag thrown, stacked up right at the line of scrimmage. Actually, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 yellow hankies laying on the ground.
You can't blink against Oklahoma State, that's for sure. Slow to fast. They show fast and go slow.
Offside on a defense number 11. Half the distance to the goal. Third down.
So it'll be third down and what, foot? Maybe.
inside of that, I think. Phil Taylor, number 11, getting called for offsides. He's that big defensive tackle. Had turf toe. They counted on him to be really that run anchor at the point of attack and haven't gotten much out of him because of that injury.
Well, Oklahoma State looking to the sideline. Mike Gundy making some changes. They've got 12 to snap it, so they're going to have to hurry unless they're going to go ahead and burn the timeout. And I got a funny feeling they are. 5 for 5 in the red zone today for Oklahoma State, and they will call the timeout, letting the clock just run down to 9:43. You know, Mike telling us yesterday that we're not good enough to look ahead to Texas. They've looked pretty solid today against Art Briles' team. Cowboys leading it 27-0.
See the problem lies.
Playing in only their second road game this year. They got by A&M down in College Station 36-31. Now the Cowboys lead it 27-0. 9:43 left to play in the fourth, facing 3rd and goal from about the 1.5-foot line.
1.5-foot line?
Yeah, you like that? Well, I'd say 2 feet.
Right.
That's 2, because you can see the little line. It's got the deal there. And they quickly line up. The quick snap. Straight ahead. Touchdown, Keith Toston.
Ron, Oklahoma State is so good right now on the line of scrimmage. This is really no contest whatsoever. Whether they hurry up or whether they go slow, the result is similar. I don't know that there are a lot of people that understand how good Oklahoma State is at the line of scrimmage. I'm not using this game as the benchmark. I'm saying that up to this point in time in the season, up front, they're very, very solid.
And they're also solid in the kicking game. The extra point is absolutely perfect. Dan Bailey, perfect in his career. You know, we've got a big day on Versus because we still have a lot coming up. If Utah can keep the Cadets from their push-ups, that's a question. How about if BYU's mission will be plagued by the Frogs after our game?
Eddie Wide for Utah, that running back, 3 straight 100-yard games, filling in for Asiata. Going to have to run the football against Air Force today.
And then later, TCU, BYU.
Jerry Hughes, 8 sacks on the year. Edge pressure against BYU is essential. 4th in the FBS in sacks, and Jerry Hughes is that guy that needs to get pressure on this guy. Max Hall, consummate, efficient quarterback for BYU. They can run the football also with Harvey Unga.
Hughes, the leading candidate for the Hendricks Award this year, signifying the top defensive end in the country, and that is about 5 yards deep on the kick, and Baylor will take a knee. 9:39 left to play in the ball game. You know, this Oklahoma State team, of course, gave up 21 fourth-quarter points to Houston, and a lot after that incredible win over Georgia, which doesn't look as incredible now. But everybody said, oh, boy, flash in the pan. But you've got to give credit to Zac Robinson and these guys because they lose Bryant, they lose Hunter, they lose a couple of other players because of suspension or whatever, and they've hung together, and they really seem like they are getting it back together again.
Yeah, I think you're right, and the key is Zac Robinson. He's the glue. He's the quarterback that is back there, a veteran quarterback, over 30 starts in a row. Mike Gundy obviously is familiar with Zac Robinson. Collectively, as a play caller quarterback, they have to get familiar with the playmakers on the field.
Oklahoma State playing a safety about 20 yards deep. And Baylor's just going to run it. Nick Florence back into the lineup. Szymanski came in, got hurt. Florence came back into the football game. Good job, though, seeing Jay Finley in there, the junior out of Corsicana, Texas. He really emerged last year as a runner. Over 850 yards rushing the football. Been hurt this year. And a little play fake to Finley. That pass overthrown over the head of Kendall Wright and also David Geddes. He had 2 choices.
And Ron, if you're Art Briles and you're trying to build this program, we had a couple of Baylor games last year, and it's about improving the talent level. You try to get something done while you're doing that, but once the injury started to show up on the offensive side of the ball, you could see that they have a ways to go in that talent department.
Now Florence on 3rd down and 10. Oklahoma State with a Outstanding defensive effort as the pass is complete to Justin Akers. Up over the 35-yard line to about the 40-yard line. His 4th catch of the afternoon.
Yeah, only had 5 or actually 8 coming into this game. Doing a nice job from that tight end position, flexed out wide. The big body, almost 260 pounds. He's caught the ball well today.
His pass again to Akers, and he is tripped up, but not before he gets inside the 40, down to about the 38-yard line, a pickup of 23.
Well, this is about where Oklahoma State will start getting a body on the big tight end. He's right down here. He's been allowed to come off the line of scrimmage without any hindrance. You would think they would jam him now.
At least 1 reception, 10 straight games. Florence lofts this one up, and it's going to be incomplete. That ball just got stuck up in the air. Jefferson was the intended receiver. Cox on the coverage.
Lawrence just getting the ball and getting rid of it to the big wide receiver outside, and that's why the quick pressure by Chinessa on that play, trying to get it out to 6'6", 210-pound Willie Jefferson out wide.
And Florence still in, tries to throw the screen pass, and it is tipped right at the line of scrimmage. Chinessa again, the big junior out of Richardson, Texas. Lewis, what do you got on the sideline?
Well, it's on Blake Samansky. We saw him go out after falling on that right shoulder. He sat over there for a while. The trainers had some chats with him about the shoulder. A lot of players coming by kind of checking on him, but you could just see by the body language and the head kind of hanging that he's probably done for the day. No definitive word on what it is, but the right shoulder seems to be clearly the problem.
And I feel for him. He's a senior. He's been trying to lead this program, and in comes Griffin, and you're kind of relegated to a backup duty.
And here's Salubi. He breaks through into the secondary inside the 20 down to the 18-yard line. Victor Johnson, the sophomore from right here in Waco, coming up to make the stop.
Art Briles was hoping to do this early and continuously. They just haven't been able to do it consistently.
Pickup of 19, straight ahead running, stopped at the 19-yard line. Oklahoma State with a couple of Waco players. Victor Johnson, one who actually played against Griffin in high school, said, gee, I wish we could play him, because he and I battled each other in high school on the track and also on the football field. And a whistle, and the officials coming over, and a timeout's called by Oklahoma State.
Timeout, Oklahoma State.
That'll be their second here in the second half.
Timeout on the field.
7 minutes and 44 seconds left to play in the ball game. Oklahoma State leading Baylor with the shutout.
Hey, DirecTV! Give me back my person!
Last time Oklahoma State shut out a team was back in September of 2001. They beat Northwestern State 24-0. That was Les Miles' first year as head coach. And now Mike Gundy, 7 minutes and 44 seconds away from getting his first shutout. Oklahoma State leading 34-0. Lewis Johnson, Kelly Stoffer, Ron Pula with you at Floyd Casey Stadium in Waco, Texas, homecoming. And Nick Florence has had a tough afternoon for the freshman. 15-29 with an interception. Nice little drive here, though. Looks over the sideline. Art Briles flashing the signals along with 2 other coaches. 5 to snap it. Trying to establish something on the run and being knocked out of bounds is Salubi. Prior to that rush, Kelly, 136 yards rushing for Baylor in the last 3 games combined.
And keep in mind that Art Briles wants to start everything. That early rhythm we talked about, Baylor wanted to get in offensively, comes by running the football effectively early on. Art Briles hasn't been able to get that going today.
3rd down and 9. Lawrence going in the end zone for Geddes, tossed up in the air. It is caught, and it will be 6. 17-yard touchdown reception for David Geddes, the senior out of Los Angeles, California.
Well, as it always does, Ron, it's about football players making plays when they're put in a position to do that. And David Geddes does a nice job on the fade route, but I think obviously a little bit to be desired offensively as a whole.
And the extra point is good. Only his 4th touchdown reception of his career.
First of all, you have to get down here, and then you have to find a way to get it done. Geddes does a nice job of finishing this play.
All right, thank you, all. The homecoming crowd still able to cheer even though their team is down 34-7 with 7:17 left in the ball game. Oklahoma State has reached 30 points against the Baylor Bears in each of the last 10 games. Be aware now of possible onside kick. But instead, they are going to go deep. There's Cox. And he is going to be dropped back at the 22-yard line. Let's look at the Buffalo Wild Wings game reset. And you can see the Cowboys, Zac Robinson. All starts with him, though, Kelly.
Wow, look at that efficiency. 23 of 27. Time of possession is going to be tied to that. But Baylor, Nick Florence doing a decent job. Just nothing there. And they haven't possessed the ball because they couldn't extend drives by converting on 3rd down.
And now they take over. Ball's on the 24-yard line. Just over 7 minutes left to be played the ball game. And Alex Cate has checked in. The junior out of Salt Lake City, Utah. He will be a quarterback as Zac Robinson's afternoon is done. Cade, it was a heavily recruited prep All-American. Actually listed as the number 3 quarterback behind Brandon Whedon, the former professional baseball player, but they like this young man. Hasn't thrown a pass this year. He's got 1 rush for a couple of yards.
And I would be amazed if he throws a pass at this time of the game as well. A lot of on the ground. Mike Gundy get his guys off the field and head back and get ready for Texas next week at home.
And David Paulson, the true freshman out of Marietta, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, has checked in at the fullback spot. So Mike Gundy giving some of his younger players a little action. Here's Bo Johnson. He's done a nice job this afternoon, Johnson has. That is his 18th carry, and he'll be just above 70 yards. Toasting, by the way, over the century mark, 105 or 9 yards rushing, I should say, on just 15 carries and a touchdown.
And not knowing the status of Kendall Hunter, I think it's important that Johnson played a bigger role today with Toaston getting over 24 carries the last couple of games and give his legs a little bit of a break looking forward to next week.
Well, Johnson had 37 rushes coming into today, so he had about half of that just in one game today. And up over the 35-yard line to the 36-yard line is Johnson. Spent some time at Butler Community College. He's now out of Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Ron, we talked about this. As much as Oklahoma State has really kind of crawled back into this, getting their sea legs offensively with a new cast of characters, they need to get it done against the big 3 coming up, Texas and then Oklahoma and Texas Tech. That's where they need to get it done.
Now they still have, of course, to play the Sooners in Norman, and Oklahoma's won the last 3 by an average score of 48-13. Here's Bo Johnson again on first down, up over the 40 to the 42-yard line as the clock moves closer to 5 minutes left. Johnson looks like that right arm's kind of dangling. Well, no, maybe not.
Ron, do you see enough improvement out of Oklahoma State's defense to get something done against Colt McCoy and that Texas offense next week?
I was telling you at halftime, and I'm a huge Bill Young fan. That's dating back to when he was assistant coach at Putnam City West High School, believe it or not, in Oklahoma. But Bill Young, 40-year coaching vet. I saw what he did at Kansas. He turned one of the worst defenses in the country around to winning the Orange Bowl in '07. And I think he's done a nice job simplifying the system. And also the speed on defense this year for Oklahoma State is a lot better than I thought it was, and looks better than it did on tape. Here's Johnson up to the 48-yard line. Let's check in with Lewis.
Well, guys, we talked at the top of this game about Oklahoma State not having Dez Bryant and the question mark about the running back Kendall Hunter, who you've been talking about. But here's the question for you guys as we look forward to them having Texas next week. Kendall Hunter, if he doesn't get into this game here with 4:15 to play, will have missed 5.5 games. No action before he goes to face the Longhorns. So wondering if he's the one that's got to pull the trigger. Should he maybe put himself on the field for a few plays here, or do you take this big win, take another week before you go and face the Longhorns?
We'll answer that after this play, because I know all of Thomas talked to Coach Gundy about it. Here, penalty flags thrown as Travis Miller trips his way inside the 45 down to the 44. Why don't you take it first, Kelly? What do you think?
74, 10-yard penalty. First down.
That's on Grant Garner,
I think
by the
with
way.
skilled players and skilled positions, I like to have playing time before the big game next week. I would have been more comfortable in the skilled position areas running back is, especially with their running backs figuring more into the passing game. Like to get him back on the field today, but Mike Gundy said if he's not totally healthy, not totally ready, he's not going to do that.
Well, he has only 32 rushes this year, and Kendall has made it known that he won't play unless he feels 100%. But you have a guy that's got great moves. He's got deceptive speed. You think you'd want to feel the pop a couple of times before you face an outstanding defense like UT next week.
The running back position is really much of, as much about kind of rhythm and feel as the quarterback position is. And so I think getting him in there, getting him behind that offensive line, letting him see the holes a little bit, I think just a few carries probably would have been sufficient, but obviously that was not the case today.
By the way, on that tackle was number 41, Joe Pavelik. He is in double digits, 10 tackles on the afternoon for Pavelik. He's one of these guys, too, Kelly. Every time I do a Baylor game during his 4 years, you look down at the end of the game and you go, oh, he had 12 tackles. Oh, he had 10 tackles. Second down and 18. Here's Travis Miller. Oh, what a hit does he take as he gets to the 46. Let's take a look at our lows building towards the BCS, and you can see the undefeated teams. USC with one loss, still in at number 7, ahead of TCU, who will be on Versus a little bit later today.
Yeah, the undefeateds, and you would think that TCU certainly has to take advantage of going to Provo, which is a very difficult place to play. Experienced it personally, and it's hard to win there. And I think if TCU can make a statement tonight, they may have enough momentum to jump over USC at that 7th position.
Now 68 plays for Oklahoma State today. That's kind of been the MO against this Baylor defense. They've been on the field a lot. Third down and about 13. Travis Miller's not going to be able to get it. Let's see if Oklahoma State goes ahead and punts. They've only punted twice in the ball game so far today. And we've got a whistle, and Baylor will burn a timeout, and that'll be their second of the second half. Just a reminder, coming up next, the Craftsman postgame show. Al Trotwig will bring you all the highlights with analysis from Roland Williams and Christian Fourier, all coming up on the Craftsman postgame show in just about a minute and 49 seconds. And there's Coach Gundy. He still has a lot of question marks about this team, and you and I both asked him last night. We said, is this team so young they don't know what they lack and what they're facing? And I think yeah, you're probably right on that.
Yeah, at a time when you look around and say, okay, who are our playmakers now? He didn't think the guys were really aware that they didn't have many on the field, but he was. He seems to be finding them, and I think at the right time. Texas's defense next week is very good. Offensively, I don't think Texas is really in sync. It'll be strength on strength. I think Oklahoma State, Zac Robinson against a very, very good Texas defense.
Want to remind you that the National Hockey League is on Versus, and coming up Tuesday, November 3rd, Zetterberg powers an explosive Red Wings attack against Tim Thomas, the top goalie, and the Bruins. Red Wings Tuesday, November 3rd at 7 o'clock Eastern. The NHL is on Versus. I'll tell you what, old Boone Pickens Stadium is going to be rocking next Saturday. Woo. I wonder if you have to place like an order at Eskimo Joe's for the cheese fries early.
Well, someone needs to place our order, that's for sure. But you're right, and I think this Oregon State team needs to prove that they can live up to that hype. That's what the Georgia game was to begin the year. Georgia turned out to not be much of a team in the big scheme of things. Texas is the real deal. Can Oklahoma State get it done on the big stage?
Warren swings it out to Kendall Wright, still on his feet. One more point about this Oklahoma State defense. I don't think people realize, too, they've had 3 D coordinators in 5 seasons, 5 D coordinators in this decade.
You're right. But Oklahoma State's reputation has been all about the expectations because of the offense. The defense gets hammered for the way they play. Bill Young, the defensive coordinator, told us that was the first order of business for him, is to deal with the psyche of his side of the ball, and he's done that, and they're looking pretty pretty effective right now.
And there we saw a nice open field tackle on Sampson, something they didn't do last week against Missouri. Anderson on the stop. Now the question is, you know, Kendall Hunter, but what will be the situation on Dez?
See, that's the wild card, Ron, because the NCAA in their infinite wisdom could decide like in an hour that Dez Bryant is ready to play again or can play again. So, you know, it isn't unheard of for him to potentially be available next week.
Now we understand once the Dez Bryant situation is resolved, the NCAA will work on health care.
Exactly. I think that's their next order of business.
Maybe.
I think that's probably about as far as we should go with that.
Yeah, really. Well, Baylor called a timeout with 39 seconds left. Art Brow's team, you know, has tried to do everything they possibly could today, but coming up on the short end. But he couldn't stop Zac Robinson, the quarterback of Oklahoma State. Just an outstanding afternoon for Zac.
And when you talk about Zac Robinson, you also have to talk about the line of scrimmage for Oklahoma State. Little to no pressure pretty much the entire day. Makes a quarterback feel very comfortable. He has weapons that are emerging down the field in spite of not having Dez Bryant and Kendall Hunter. Zac Robinson is the trigger puller. When you have him, you have a chance.
You know, he's 117.
Ron Franklin along with that
yards. Nice open field tackle again, as that might just do it. So Baylor's going to go to 3-4 on the year, 0-3 in Big 12 conference play. They will be home next Saturday morning against Nebraska. You'll be able to see that right here on Versus. Meanwhile, Oklahoma State goes to 6-1, 3-0 in conference play. Next week, they will battle Texas. Lawrence's pass is complete up to the 50-yard line, and the clock cannot be stopped. Good win for Mike Gundy. He's going to wait as Baylor's going to try to get off one more play, and they're not going to be able to. So Mike Gundy gets his 33rd career coaching victory at Oklahoma State. And he does it by the score of 34-7. Final thoughts, Kelly, on the game.
I think for Oklahoma State, you're relieved. You got through this. You looked pretty good, pretty efficient in most areas. But now, finally now, you get a look toward Texas next week. Baylor has a long way to go. Not many weapons to work with.
Zac Robinson, the hero of the game, 34-7. Let's go down to Lewis Johnson.
All right, well, Mike Gundy giving some congratulations to Jordan Lake after a game, and coach, you now moved to 6-1 and really a dominating game. Your really overall thoughts on the way the team performed, really led by Zac Robinson.
Well, I was really proud of the team. I thought in all three phases that we had some success. I thought that Zac played very well. I thought we ran the football effectively. Our defense was very good in third down situations. We're able to maintain them and kind of keep them pinned up. So it's a really good win for us. You know, anytime you play in league play on the road, I mean, you got to go out and you got to be ready to play. And so I want to give, you know, congratulations to Baylor. I know that they're playing better every year, but our guys just were the better team today.
I bet you won't make it to the plane before you start to think about hosting Texas next week. What questions do you need answered about your team as you get prepared for that big showdown?
Well, our goal is going to be the same, just to continue to get better each day, each drill, and each game. And I'm very proud of our team and the way they're competing. They've come together as a group, and it's about them. You know, they can go take it as far as they want to take it. I'm very proud of it, and I'm sure that excitement for Texas will take care of itself.
All right, Mike, thanks so much.
Thank you all.
Ron, back to you.
All right, Baylor now 20 straight losses to ranked teams. They lose at 34-7. Coming up next on Versus, we will have Air Force versus Utah. Don't forget, 7:30 Eastern. TCU takes on BYU. For more information on college football, log on to Versus.com. For Kelly Stauffer, Lewis Johnson, and our entire Versus crew in Waco, Texas, I'm Ron Thulin. We thank you so much for watching. Now let's go to the Craftsman post-game show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to College Football Central. I'm Al Troutwig, along with Roland Williams and Christian Fourier. We'll take you right up to Air Force and Utah. Raise your hands if you hate blowouts. There's very little to break down, but we're going to do it anyway. And this was such a one-sided affair. Oklahoma State has Zac Robinson. That's almost the end of story. And he's also got running back Keith Toston, a 1-2 punch that worked perfectly.
Well, you know, when you watch the game like this, you know, interceptions are going to play a key part. The defense played well. But what I liked was that the quarterback, Zac Robinson, was on fire. You see him there getting the tight end. Mr. Human in the end zone. That's always a good start. Tight end getting the ball.
Oh, then he looks for Mr. Human. Then he goes for Mr. Fuchs for a 16-yard TD reception. What a great catch. Tons of defenders. Yeah, you know, and it was like that pretty much the whole day. They just couldn't get anything together. But give it to Oklahoma State for their defense for showing up today.
Baylor scored late. Final score 34-7. So I guess the question is, just how good is Oklahoma State 15th ranked? Zac Robinson, near perfect, 23 of 27 for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. Tostin gets a 109-yard game. What's the answer to that question?
Well, I just want to say, okay, it was an impressive performance. Okay, they played well against a team they were supposed to beat. But let's be honest, they are in the Big 12 South. They're not playing around over there next week versus Texas. That's a tall order for Oklahoma State to overcome. I don't think they can win that football game, but I am proud of them for playing well in a game they're supposed to win.
Well, you heard the coach say they executed on every single level, offense, defense, and special teams. Now, this game is a confidence booster, not really for the offense.